Did I tell you that Josh started knitting?
I actually saw him with some knitting needles downstairs.
So we started taking a class yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was him and a bunch of ladies learning how to cast on, I guess is what it's called.
That's correct.
The last few weeks, he's been using these needles that someone brought to the shop. And I'll just find him in his like robe knitting. And it's hilarious and amazing.
Adorable.
It's really cute. He wants to learn how to knit hats and then also fix the sweater that he got when we were in Ireland.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and also really appropriate for today's episode since we're talking about mending.
Yeah, we're on the mend.
Welcome back to One Can Hope. I'm Eleisha, refillery owner and low-waste lifestyle advocate.
And I'm Ali, upcycling enthusiast and content creator.
Today we're highlighting Mend March, a whole month dedicated to fixing things you already have.
Fast fashion is tearing apart the planet, but we've got the thread to stitch things back together.
From mending clothes to mending relationships, we're fixing more than just ripped jeans in this episode. One can hope. Fast fashion. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. Basically, it's the type of clothing that is being mass produced at this point from bigger companies like Shein, Temu, H&M, Zara,
Forever 21. These clothes are made low cost and low rewearability. They're only meant to last for one fashion cycle, which these days is about a week.
Yeah, they're very trendy, trying to keep up with all of the newest styles, and honestly don't have the best track record when it comes to sustainability.
Right.
But consumers are part of the reason.
Yeah, as long as people are buying these clothes, they'll continue to be made and sold.
The Ellen MacArthur Foundation reports that clothing use has declined by almost 40% in 15 years.
Now, that's not clothing purchasing, that's clothing use.
Right.
Like you buy it, and instead of you used to wear it 10 times, now you only wear it 4.
Right. And while there are many countries that do have a higher usage, the United States...
Not one of them.
Clothes are only worn for about a quarter of the global average.
Right. I saw that some garments are estimated to be discarded after only 7 to 10 wears.
Oh my goodness. That'd be like after a week for me.
No, right? Yeah. You have like your uniform for the week.
Yeah.
Same. Mine are discarded when they are no longer functional pieces of clothing.
Or not even clothing. I know you. You're like, well, this isn't a functional piece of fabric anymore.
Right? And then it is stuffing for a dog bed.
Yeah. Or rags. Here's a fact. Every second, one truckload of clothing. Can you picture one truckload of clothing?
What kind of truck?
Like a dump truck.
Oh, okay. Because I was picturing Tonka, and those are very small.
Oh, very tiny. That'd be much better than what I'm about to tell you. Every second, one truckload of clothing is landfilled or burned.
Wow. What I think about when you say burned is that there's not a lot of natural fibers in clothing these days, so it's just setting plastic on fire.
You're taking it to the whole other level, yeah. It's estimated that more than half of fast fashion produced is disposed of in under a year.
That's so hard to imagine. I'm picturing a pair of socks, Grinch socks that I have in my closet from middle school. How about this? The fashion industry could use 26% of the world's carbon budget by 2050.
Just the fashion industry.
Just the fashion industry.
26%. That seems like a lot. Though I'm not really sure what else is using all that carbon.
No, but it probably shouldn't be one industry.
Yeah, and it probably shouldn't be based on our clothing.
The reality is, textile recycling is only so-so. See what I did there?
So. Mm-hmm. Your, like, sewing machine.
Yeah.
Wow.
We need to mend and extend clothing life instead.
We recommend taking a second look at your wardrobe before tossing anything.
A little good news.
Yay!
Last year, California introduced Bill 707, the Responsible Textile Act of 2024, after finding that 1.2 million tons of textiles were disposed of statewide. That wasn't the good news.
Yeah, it was.
The bill is the good news.
Oh, okay.
It requires brand to accept unwanted items for reuse and recycling, and companies face penalties for noncompliance. This could set a national precedent.
A national precedent in that it would require more brands to possibly accept their clothing back.
Yes, and in a way that's made easier for the consumer.
Right, because I feel like a lot of the burden has been put on the consumer when really it's these companies that are creating the products. I know that at our refillery, no matter what we sell, we will take back any waste from it, whether it's compostable or, metal, anything like that, because we feel like it is our responsibility to take care of the products that we are selling.
Right, and put it in the right place, responsibly diverting it from a landfill.
Exactly. It's also why I personally support regulations. I know that there's a lot of kind of back and forth. Some people feel like it's limiting, but I think that when you have companies that are doing the best to be profitable, they're not necessarily going to stop doing things that harm the planet if it's making money.
And with something like this bill, one of the goals is to get companies to provide consumers with either a mail-back package or drop-off locations that are all free and easy for the purchaser, which will likely cost the company. You're having to change some operations. One, provide your customers with ways to send things back. And two, figure out what to do with those items once they're returned, either repairing them or recycling them.
This gets into the whole idea that if the government wanted to support these kinds of things, that you could. I mean, subsidies are given to all sorts of different industries. What's to say we couldn't subsidize this kind of forward thinking in the fashion industry?
Another pro to this beyond the environment is that it could create more jobs. Imagine if every clothing company had people that were specifically hired to repair items, or you create a whole recycling system.
Well, and taking it back to regulations, I did make a few notes that I felt were important to kind of touch on and why I personally support them. One, and something that I've obviously learned just being in a small business, is that customers are not always aware of the products that they're buying.
Right.
When you have consumer protection regulations, this makes a company just spell out what a product's potential benefits are, risks are, these things. I mean, it's one of the reasons you hear this prescription drug could cause all of these risks. It's to protect consumers. Thinking of supply and demand, markets often have one or a small number of sellers, and so anti-monopoly regulations make it so that consumers are not overpaying for products.
Right, because if only one brand carries a product, then why wouldn't they mark it up?
Yeah, they could, especially if profit is their bottom line, mark it up to whatever it is they want. Without regulations, and we know this firsthand because there is more and more evidence suggesting that companies are just taking advantage of cost-cutting measures, our waters become more polluted. Our air becomes more polluted. Trees are cut down without being replaced. Without these regulations, again, if it's a profit-driven company,
companies have no reason.
No, and in fact, I would argue they have opposite because their shareholders are making them make more money. I want to be clear, and I understand not all regulations are effective. Some are downright ridiculous, whether they are too restrictive or whether they're weak or uninformed, but that doesn't mean that all regulation is harmful. So the idea that this could be a national movement for brands is very exciting to me. And there are already brands that are doing it without the regulations in place.
Do you have some examples?
I do. Yes, I do. It's actually why whenever my daughter was starting school, we got a JanSport backpack, because JanSport will repair their backpacks.
And that's a lifetime warranty, right?
It's a lifetime warranty.
I know for us, Darn Tough socks.
Yes.
They're wool socks.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a hole in them, you can send them back and they will give you a store credit for however much your socks were worth. We have done this multiple times. We learned about it through hiking the Appalachian Trail.
What happens to the socks you send back?
Well, they learn from them. So they see where the wear patterns are, where the holes are to try to make a better product.
They're also wool, right?
They're wool, so
they could easily be composted.
They could be composted, but the big motivation, according to their website, is we want the product to last. We want it to be a better product. Especially, I think plenty of companies say that, but when you back it up with, we'll replace them. Mm-hmm. If there's a hole in them, we'll replace them. Then that tells me like, oh yeah, you do want it to last because otherwise...
And also you care about me as a consumer.
Yes.
You're thinking about that long term. You are trying to create a relationship with the consumer so that the consumer wants to support this company.
And it works because I tell you what, we're not buying wool socks from anybody else.
Right.
Like we go to them and you need a variety of wool socks. Maybe you need them thicker for hiking, but thinner for running. So it's not like we're just using one pair over and over. These are socks that we use year round for multiple different activities. And if we're getting a pair, we're buying them from Darn Tough.
Also brands like Patagonia.
Patagonia's huge about that.
And I mean, just in general, not just their whole repair, but everything they kind of stand for is really impressive from an environmental standpoint.
Doesn't Patagonia have a secondhand...
Yeah, like a
used goods option?
I believe so. That's
online
ringing
shopping.
a bell for me.
I know that there are a few REI stores that have, there's one not far from here that has either gently used or the box was opened or something like that you can go and get a heavy discount on items.
Love it. And we can't forget, I don't know if you wore these in high school, but Doc Martens.
Eleisha, I wore your Doc Martens.
Did you?
Yes. Like you and Mom had a very long conversation about the pros and cons of Doc Martens. And one of them was that they last a long time. They lasted so long that you wore them 4 years and then I wore them 4 years.
I mean, that's impressive.
Yes.
We weren't even low waist at that point. We were just money saving.
Frugal.
Very frugal.
I also just
didn't care.
Thought you hung the moon and wanted to wear everything you wore.
But yeah, they have a whole repair division. Thinking of repairs and frugality, I'm thinking about your old coat that had
that was duct tape
that you put duct tape on. This is a different type of mending that we're talking about.
When I buy something, especially when I buy it new, I have the hardest time getting rid of it. It's like I spent money on this. I'm gonna use it.
Well, and that jacket it still worked. It was a down,
oh, yeah, it
right?
kept me warm.
I mean, it was very warm for you.
It was ugly. But I wore that jacket on set a lot at work when we shot outside in the cold. That jacket went up to Kilimanjaro with me. I had a lot of adventures with that jacket.
Yeah.
And so there was a little bit of sentimental value there, but also it wasn't cheap. It's a down jacket.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure it lasts.
Mend and extend.
Exactly. So if you find yourself with clothes that need mending and you have no idea how to do it,
bring them to Ali. That's what I do.
You're not the only one. No, but a lot of dry cleaners will also do alterations or mending, and I found that really helpful. Even beyond mending, if you need pants hemmed or certain things tailored, many have that skill set, and it's incredibly helpful because sometimes it's hard to know where to go for that if you don't have a sister that does it.
There are also shoe cobblers. When we were living in New York, I would always bring my shoes to be resoled.
Oh, yeah.
Especially because you're walking so much in New York.
Right.
And so that was a habit that I picked up when I lived in the city, and now I still will resole, even though I'm not walking as much.
I had a pair of hiking boots that I've had for maybe 15 years, and they finally got to the point where they were beyond. The sole already had holes in it, and then one day they just completely came off. It was just foot on ground. And I was like, okay, well, guess it's time now. But yeah, the shoe cobbler is an excellent resource.
And a little beyond the DIY aspect of mending.
Yeah, I don't think that's a practice I'm learning anytime soon. That takes some real skill. That's a setup.
Something that doesn't take a lot of skill, patches.
Well, you're talking like no-sew patches?
Yeah, no-sew patches.
Yeah, iron
And
on.
there's some cute ones.
Totally. Also, if you have rips in your jeans, a lot of craft stores will sell a little pack that has maybe 5 or 6 different colors of denim. You just iron it on. They make it so easy.
And then your jeans are good to go for another round.
Yeah, and another no-sew winner is hem tape.
Oh, yes. I'm familiar with hem tape.
It's called fusible tape. It's like a ribbon that comes on a roll.
Yeah.
And you just put it in between where you wanted your hem to be, iron,
And then it sticks.
and you have a hem.
It's like double stick tape, but much stronger.
Yeah, much stronger and very effective. Have you used it before?
I remember Mom using it on our uniform skirts.
On our skirts. Do you know what that reminds me of? Eleisha and I went to Catholic schools our entire lives.
Yeah.
And I think it was senior year or junior year I went, and they would always make us kneel or do the fingertip test to see if our skirts were long enough.
I know. I got detention once.
Well, I got the opposite. I did the fingertip test. It had to be at least to your fingertips, the hem of your skirt. And I went and did it, and it was like 6 inches. Like,
below your knee?
Below my fingertips. And they're like, Alexandra, these skirts can be shortened. And I'm like, who has time for that?
My skirt was half an inch too short. Half an inch too short in the back.
Well,
so, detention it was.
You should have been more modest. If you do have any knowledge of sewing, every tutorial you can imagine exists online. From how to use a machine, from what every different foot of your machine does, from every different type of stitch and what's going to be best for certain problems. The internet has so much information, or the library. Like, it's all there. It's all out there. I, in fact, this weekend spent a solid hour just watching YouTube tutorials about what all the different feet of my sewing machine do.
You know, this reminds me, so we went and toured a new school for our daughter, and they have a whole classroom set up with sewing machines.
Really?
Yeah. And
I feel
they
like
have to
stopped
learn.
teaching that.
I thought so too, but apparently not all schools have.
Wow.
And so the first semester, they learn every part of the sewing machine.
That's cool.
I know.
I think it's such an important skill set.
Yeah.
And I love that that's part of class. We had a home ec at high school, but I didn't take it.
They don't call it home ec anymore. I don't remember what they call it. I don't remember. But our library allows you to check out sewing machines.
Does it really?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I know.
I was going to recommend trying to borrow from a friend if you don't have one.
You know what else the library has? Knitting circles.
That's cute.
Yeah. So Josh will probably
You know, I have to say,
be in a knitting circle at the library soon.
what a cutie. I have to say that a lot of small men's don't need a sewing machine.
Small men's. At first I thought you said small men's.
Small men don't need sewing machines, but the big ones do. No, a lot of like small rips or tears, you just need a little hand sewing.
Yeah, we've done mending stations at the shop. Well, we've done sip and sews and mending stations.
Fun.
With the sip and sews, you learn how to hand sew things, which is where I learned to sew the buttons.
Do you learn how to sew with one hand while you're sipping with the other?
That would be quite a skill. And then, yeah, mending stations where you can bring your article of clothing or not even just clothing, like tents, bags, whatever, and she'll mend it for you.
You know what? It's funny you say that because we had been talking so much about mending clothes that I forgot how many things are made of material that can be sewn.
Oh, yeah.
And how much of that I've done in life really extends.
Mend
You
and
mend and
extend.
extend. You know what I think would be such a fun event to host?
What?
Like a sip and sew.
Yeah.
Or you could call it a mender bender or a stitch and bitch.
A mender bender. I remember Stitch and Bitch. I feel like I got you a book called Stitch and Bitch at some point.
It was a knitting book.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, don't write a book about it. I'm sure that's already trademarked.
Taken.
But you could just send out invitations to your small group of friends.
I like mender bender.
Mender bender's fun.
That way, too, you could bring all the things and almost like body doubling where it's like things you don't necessarily want to do, but you have to do. And if you're doing it all together, so fun.
And I never like to just mend one thing. It's like annoying. I wait till it piles up.
Yeah.
Which is even more annoying. But I feel like with a friend group, it's a party.
Yeah, and you're all accomplishing something all at the same time. I like this party.
You can all learn from each other too. I want to have one at my house, and I've already...
Can I come?
Yes. I've already kind of planned it out, and I'm going to share with you listeners what this party would be like.
What about me?
You're listening.
Okay.
So I'm including you when I say listeners.
Okay, thanks.
So it would be a mender bender.
Okay.
And I would set up a sewing machine table, but I'd also have all my sewing needles for hand stitching. I'd have some buttons. I would have hem tape, iron-on patches, and other patches because...
Like pieces of denim or pieces of fabric, that kind of thing?
Yeah, or like if you have a hole in a sweatshirt, you could just put a patch on that.
Oh, like one of the little cute like embroidered patches?
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
cute. It could be from a national park you visited.
Oh, yeah. I didn't, though.
You didn't. Wait, this really quickly reminds me that we'll get hoodies or sweatshirts from thrift stores, and they'll have some random tech logo on it.
Yeah.
You can just put a patch on that.
Put a patch on it.
Put a bird on it?
Yeah.
Put a bird patch on it. And it's suddenly this custom sweatshirt. So don't let those logos scare you away.
You could also do some visible mending.
Wait, I've not finished setting up my mender bender.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I got ahead of myself with the patches.
Got too excited.
Okay. So here's what else I would say. Oh, I'd also definitely have an iron and ironing board. Plenty of places
Very important
to sit for everyone to sew. Maybe some zippers.
Okay. Ooh.
That's a tricky one.
That's advanced.
Okay, but there would be snacks and drinks.
Obviously.
So for drinks, you could have a non-alcoholic soda.
So,
yeah. You have to label it so it makes sense to people. You could also serve, if you wanted to have alcohol at your party, you could serve a drink called the Whiskey Fix. I think it comes in every like gin fix, bourbon fix. It's just
any kind of fix.
It's like the alcohol with simple syrup and lemon.
Okay.
Or the Red Hook is a cocktail.
Like a hook.
Like a crochet hook.
Okay.
Or also there's if you've ever seen a packet of needles that are used to mend knitting, like knit material, like a sweater.
All I'm thinking right now is like when you're giving stitches to someone. So.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say knits like lice.
No. Oh,
which is
no.
not part of this.
I don't want that in my mender bender.
Okay, so the snacks you could serve chocolate chipped cookies.
Chipped.
Sour Patch Kids.
Oh.
Or you had this idea, anything that's like high in iron.
Yeah, that was dumb, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I liked it. I really appreciated it.
Or steamed
dumplings.
No, steamed dumplings because they have little pleats.
Oh my gosh, how cute. None of these foods work together, but they all fit with the theme, which I love. Okay, in addition, I think there could be movies in the background.
Okay.
Like Patch Adams, Lilo and Stitch, That Darn Cat, Iron Man.
You did your homework on this episode.
I've been thinking about this a long time. Anything with the Hemsworth brothers. You know?
Yeah.
Also, Dodgeball.
I don't.
Okay.
Dodgeball.
Wait for it. One of the actors in Dodgeball is Rip Torn.
Wait, his name is Rip Torn?
His stage name is Rip Torn.
Oh. And I didn't know that.
And in Dodgeball, this is a double whammy. He plays Patches O'Houlihan.
All right, well, slam dunk right there.
Right?
Clearly watching dodgeball at your next mender bender.
Every 5 minutes, you could stop and do a round of sit-ups or push-ups so you could get ripped at the party. No? What do you think?
I don't know. I think I'd be really torn.
Okay, finally, maybe you're not a movie crowd. Maybe you're more of a playlist crowd. Good news, listeners. I've already put together this playlist, and I will share it on our Spotify. It includes such hits as Weezer's Undone, the sweater song.
Makes sense.
I also have The Beatles, Fixing a Hole. Shawn Mendes, Stitches. Natalie Imbruglia, Torn.
That was a show choir song when I was younger, so.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Weird, right? Because lying naked on the
Right.
floor, I don't know what's happening.
And they were all like 16.
Yeah.
The Pussycat Dolls.
She had to say lying broken on the floor. Obviously, Catholic school. But
Right.
broken works.
Broken. That's even better.
Way better for this mender bender.
If you could just record it and then dub that in. Also, but naked works because maybe your clothes are too torn up to
Okay.
wear.
Sure. Why not?
It's your call. Coldplay, Fix You.
Yeah.
The Pussycat Dolls, Buttons. Louis Armstrong, Zip-a-dee-doo-dah.
Okay. Yes. 100%.
There's more, but those are some of the highlights. Anyway,
That's what I call mender bender. 19. All right. What is it?
this is going to be the party of the century. So if you get an invite, congratulations. The truth is, sometimes things are beyond repair. So then what?
Well, if it's a natural fiber like wool, alpaca, silk,
You can put it right back
Cotton.
on the animal.
which is so easy to find, that goes in the compost. But you got to remove buttons and all of that. Alternatively, you can look for a Helpsy bin, which we've talked about in prior episodes, or any type of recycling where it can be turned into insulation.
Yeah, that's pretty popular. Obviously, my expertise. And by expertise, I mean I'm enthusiastic about it, but I'm not really getting paid for that, nor am I an expert, is upcycling things like a sweater that's beyond repair, or maybe it's a wool sweater that I shrunk in the wash. Not that I've done that a lot. Maybe it happened once. But that can be turned into a hat and mittens and a buff. There's so many ways to upcycle.
Yeah, we sell mittens from sweaters that have been upcycled.
There's so much good fabric out there. You just have to know what to turn it into. And for me, I think I already mentioned it in this episode, but once a scrap is too small to be used for anything else, then it goes in a big bin for me and it becomes stuffing for a different project. Like I made my little sister, our little sister, a dog bed.
You know, everyone thought you were talking about me because they didn't
Yes.
know that I was the older sister.
Well, you look younger.
No, I would. What? No. I
But-
think they were just confused because they knew that I was your only real sister.
Right. I was talking about a dog, and I made her a dog bed. But I used all my fabric scraps to stuff it. But I've also done that with pillows, or if I make like a stuffed animal for my kids.
You're so talented. You do so many cool things.
I just try to keep textile waste. That's my big focus, keeping textile waste out of a landfill.
So yeah, you are excellent at mending and repairing clothing. My skill set revolves more around repairing items that are not clothing.
Oh, yeah, I'm terrible at that.
Like things like appliances, household items.
Yeah, I envy that drive you have with
We're a
figuring
good
that out.
team.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I need to check out your coffee.
Please,
maker
my coffee maker is...
on the fritz.
I mean, I got it from a thrift store, so
That's all right.
who knows how old it is. There's no way to tell.
I'll take a look at it.
The light works. It just doesn't brew any coffee. And as you can imagine, I would love a cup of caffeine every once in a while.
It's probably a really simple fix, honestly.
I'm sure it is.
Repair.org and the Right to Repair movement have really been advocating for consumers to be able to access the parts that they need and any directions that they might need to fix their own items around the house. They now have laws in effect in California, Colorado, Minnesota, and New York, and additional laws set to come online in Oregon. So the movement is growing, and it's not just about allowing consumers to have access to this information and these parts, but also for repair people. You know how there are different small businesses that their main primary focus is to repair items?
Yes.
Well, at some point, your major corporations started to keep the information from these smaller businesses. So it would either void the warranty or only licensed technicians could work on this particular brand of a product. And it's not because these smaller businesses were incapable. It's because the corporations were trying to have a monopoly over the repair by keeping the repairs in-house, not in the same way that the California bill is like, hey, come on, we'll repair it. It's more like no one else is allowed to repair it.
Right.
And no one else is allowed to know how to repair it.
Right. So we keep all the business.
Exactly. And there's some sketchy stuff where things are meant to break.
Oh, I'm sure.
So that the companies can then get paid to repair them.
Right. Like one tiny part that's crucial to how that machine works is very flimsy.
This is, again, why regulations can be very helpful.
We get it with the regulations.
I know. So in an effort to hit all the points, I'm going to read through this.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Please.
So right to repair is really fighting for a few essential things: access to diagnostic tools, replacement parts, software and firmware, documentation, so like the manuals and the schematic diagrams, anti-retaliation.
What does that mean?
That's basically protection against voiding warranties.
Oh, okay.
And then exemptions. So understanding that certain things have to be repaired by professionals and not by the consumer.
Right. Right. Like there's a danger involved if you
Or it's like something that you would need further education to actually repair it correctly.
Okay.
If you're like welding something, I can't imagine anyone's going to be like, oh, it's fine. Anyone can do it.
And here's how to weld.
Yeah.
Just pull up a YouTube video real quick.
Yeah, exactly. But electronics aren't the only thing that need repair. A lot of things around the house, or like, what is it? The Japanese art of repairing like ceramics and...
Kintsugi?
That sounds right.
Right. But they do it
beautifully.
With gold.
Yeah.
So it's now a feature. I have a mug that I got for Christmas. It's very cute. My husband found it. It was hand thrown from a local potter. But the handle recently chipped. It broke. And the piece is there still. And now that we're talking about it, I'm thinking like, oh, I should repair it with some gold. That would be really cute.
I can totally tell you who to go to if you need someone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there are people that do that.
Oh, that's great.
I know.
We also have a stack of our kids' toys. It's so frustrating. Nothing is made to last. It really drives us crazy because I was going to say you spend money on this stuff and then it breaks, but
you didn't spend any money on it.
Especially the toys. Some of them are thrifted, but also we do that toy swap, which I mentioned in the Christmas episode.
Yeah.
But a lot of the toys right now that are piled up are wood toys where the wood glue dissolved. I guess it's been used long enough. I'm thinking of one thing. There's a disc stacker. Mm-hmm. Can you picture? It's like red, orange, yellow, green. And the rod came out of the base.
Okay.
Now that I'm thinking about it, this thing is 12 years old at least. Mm-hmm. So it kind of makes sense that finally the glue didn't work.
After enough kids playing with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but we have a little stack of repairs in our garage on the workbench that just need to be wood glued back together.
One of the easiest repairs.
Yeah. I mean, this is very like, oh, okay, it makes sense.
Yeah.
There's like a wooden puzzle that the top came off the back. But it makes perfect sense to repair them. You know what I saw on social media not too long ago was this township or area that had a repair fair.
Oh, yeah.
Have y'all had one at the shop?
We have at the shop.
So it had...
A repair cafe.
It might be the same thing, tell me. But there were people from different all different kinds of...
Right. You have like an electrician, a plumber, a tailor, a carpenter, all the different trades,
right.
like hands-on skills.
And then that way, and you show up with...
It's completely
whatever
free.
It is that needs to be fixed. And then they have their little booth and they just repair it.
Yeah.
I thought that was so
It's typically
cool.
made up of volunteers, and then you would maybe donate something if you felt so inclined.
Yeah, I just thought that was the best idea, and it would be so cool to see that pop up more often.
Yeah, they have a monthly one.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that. And such a fun community event.
I know. It's great.
It'd be a great way to meet your neighbors. And you are also exposed to these businesses, probably these small businesses that repair these things.
So you're also getting to learn about the small businesses in the community.
Right. So when you need your toaster fixed again, you know, oh, I can go to this guy who was at the repair fair, which I loved. You have now a whole new, what is that? Not phone book, but...
Rolodex?
Rolodex. You have all these new contacts in your Rolodex.
In your Rolodex.
Well, I've been repairing mine for so long, so that still works.
And beyond physical things, I had this epiphany whenever I was revisiting the 5 R's of low waste, and reuse is one of them. This idea of repairing relationships. And it specifically stuck out to me because one of the examples in this podcast I was listening to.
Was it ours?
It wasn't. It wasn't even a podcast about low waste living. It was a podcast about, just treating people with respect and whatnot. But the example talked about a mother and daughter and how important it is to, when you do something that maybe upsets your child, that's out of line, that you can apologize and help mend that relationship. But it also made me think of my own relationship with my daughter and how we struggled in the beginning. I had a certain idea of parenting, and as I learned more and more about my daughter, realized that her brain works in a completely different way. And since I've been able to see that and acknowledge it and learn more about her, our relationship has really gotten so much stronger. So when relationships might feel like they are broken or not quite right, to be able to really kind of give some time, some introspective and communication and repair relationships in that way.
And very sustainable emotionally.
A really important way to move forward, I think, in life. Mend and extend. Again, just extending that relationship.
It works on so many levels. You know what they say, you reap what you sow. So let's make sure it's something awesome.
Yeah, March is the month to try mending. Join a knitting circle. Look for a repair cafe near you. Or start learning more about the right to repair laws.
After all, snitches get stitches, but sustainable folks get mending skills.
One can hope.